So they needed another method where they could sell on the value, do things quicker, scale up. And that was what they called their defined method. So when the customer's requirements are clear, they've often done them before they go to the outsourcer, they want to be able to scale up so that they can do it quicker. And then the customer will pay more money to have it done faster. Okay, but it's based on a lot of the same practices. But they have a different life cycle. There's a different order to they work. There's different governance, different checkpoints. In the first one at the top, change management doesn't really exist. It's an exploratory project. It's very agile. The customer doesn't know what they want. They're hardly going to lock it down and then make them pay to change it. In the second one, it's much more rigorous, much more commitment. So changes have to go through a change control process. Okay? Because they've agreed to deliver on a certain date for a certain price. Another company I've been working with in Germany has taken this a step further, and they've defined 4 kind of starter packs that they call collaboration models to cover the same kind of exploratory project. They're more scaled standard projects, but they've covered maintenance as well. Okay, and they built this using one kernel. They've got about, across the whole space, there's about 20 practices. If it's one on the left, exploratory or standard, their company says use PMBot. So there's a PMBot-based project management practice. They don't use that for maintenance. The funding life cycle and governance is different for their maintenance projects. So they have a different practice in there. They start at different points. If it's maintenance, one has to assume that there's an operational version of this thing already. Right? So they've got that, and it gives them a starting point. And then within those, based on questions, they can pick additional practices to meet the problems that they've got. So you can create a very flexible, different methods, method families to meet your problems and tune them over time. Other things is like this idea of being able to make your move, understand where you are, where you're going, and things. So, the kernel gives us a shared frame of reference. There's something I haven't told you about in the kernel. It's identified those things to progress. Right? Not only does it identify things to progress, it gives you states for them. There's a little series of progress indicators for each of those elements. And those, and this is the things for requirements, they allow you to see where you are. Okay? So when you start a project, are there some requirements in existence, or is there nothing? What do you have at the starting point of a piece of work? You could have anything, couldn't you? Somebody might have spent 2 years writing the perfect requirements that they want you to build, or they might just come with a problem. What you can do with the kernel is see, well, what state are these requirements in? So we are, say we are, they've already defined sufficient requirements. So we know where we are, and then we can look at what we need to do. If they've done the requirements, I wouldn't suspect you'd want to pick a requirements practice, would you? I'm sorry, your requirements are not in the correct format, therefore they are rubbish, and we are going to rewrite them from the beginning without you. Right? That's a common software process, isn't it? Okay. The other one is, I know what my requirements are, says the customer, and they say, no you don't. We must go and do some problem analysis, and I'll tell you what they are. Right? Let's try and overcome, let's get the stuff, find out where we are, move forward. So all of those elements, the things to progress, all of them have a state sheet. I don't expect you to read all of those. Right? We spent a lot of time discussing what would be progression regardless of the domain you're in. Okay, and we've got a lot of effort looking at these things. If you go to see which want to get involved, you can get access to it all and help finish it all off. But the interesting thing is you can start to do things with these. You could understand where you are, what you've achieved, what you've got left to do. Right? Because often there's an orbit, if you're working down here somewhere, right, you may not, all of the requirements might have been done by the architecture might be done by the enterprise architecture group. The requirements might be done by the business analysis. You might be coming quite late to the party. Right? Now we can have debates about whether that's a good idea, whether you should be involved earlier, but let's find out where we are so that we can move forward. So this is what we've achieved already on the left here, and on the right, these are the things we've got left to do. So when you start, say take team for example, when you start your piece of work, you may already have a good team collaborating, might you? That'd be interesting. You'd move that slider over here, right, and say, well, this team's collaborating. I don't need that recruitment practices. In another time, you might have nobody. Right, so it's useful to know where the state of these things and where they are. You can also understand your position in the value chain. You can do value chain analysis. So the top stuff at the top there, that's the responsibility of the business architecture team who get involved in all our business projects. The stuff down the bottom is the responsibility of the PMO that commissions the work of the software team. The bit in the middle is what we've got left to do as software developers. Right, so we can look at where these things... Now, that only just helps us know what our responsibilities are. If you do this and it looks stupid, maybe you could get them to change it. Right? Maybe you say, we need to work more closely. You should be involving us earlier, look. Right? And things like that. So it's a very powerful tool for looking at your value chains and the positions. If you're into life cycles, you can define your governance. Okay, so a very popular governance life cycle is the unified process. Well, certainly popular in meaning, but where you have inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. Now the thing is, you can define them. These states represent achievements. There's something that you've done. They need to be evidenced. Right? Show me your requirements. So you can check them. We're working on things like how to measure these things, how you know. Each of them comes with a checklist that you can simply check off. So you can take the kernel to any project, find out where they are, and compare it to whatever lifecycle they're using. Okay, so this is the unified process lifecycle. There's lots of other arrangements that people do. Okay, in the Munich Re case, the maintenance, the lifecycle use for maintenance is radically different than the one they use for new development. Because in maintenance, you're not allowed to change the architecture. That's not considered maintenance in their organisation. Okay. So you can see where you have different life cycles, different governance. You can even apply more than one at a time if you want. You might have a funding life cycle, requires certain things to get your money, and a technical life cycle from enterprise architecture to make sure you're fitting in. Okay, so very powerful to start arranging these things. And importantly, you can use them to set your next target. What are our problem areas? What's the next thing we need to do? Some of these things like team working or the state of your way of working often get forgotten in the rush to get some software out. Your biggest problem might be that you haven't managed to engage any of your stakeholders. Right? Oh yeah, we're earning loads of story points, but no one's ever seen them. And off we go. So it helps you to identify those sorts of things. And this is part of the avoiding problems kind of stuff. So what you can do here is you can use the kernel as basically some game boards. You can stick it up and big on the wall and get people to contribute. So if you have a team, methods and stuff, I've done a lot of work capturing methods using these ideas. Often organisations want more test management than we have in our particular method. Okay, so I've gone into rooms with loads of testers who've not heard about any of this stuff, right? They've not had any training or presentations, and I said, okay, explain how you do it. What activities have you got? And they can stick them on. They can stick them on the activity spaces. What work products do you produce? They can stick them onto these progress indicators. Like this. Okay? And you can do that without any training. What do you do if you've got something you can't fit on there? What does that tell you? It tells you that it doesn't fit. You might need to have some other things in your organisation. Okay? What does it tell you if they can't work out where to put it? Oh, it might be this or it might be, I'm not sure. Well, probably not a very good process to be using if even the experts don't know what the hell the stuff is. Okay? And what you tend to find as well, if you've got 5 of these testing experts, they all stick them up with different coloured post-its, and you find that there's 27 different ways of doing a test plan, and nobody knows what the words mean. Right? Nobody knows what the words test plan mean. They don't know if it's a plan, as in a schedule, or a schematic, or anything. Right? Then you can start to merge them get discussions. And what we spend all our time doing is just try and get rid of all the nonsense, find the essence all the time. And you can do that. You can do that with activities. And what you might find is that, yes, we've got lots of stuff about requirements and software systems, nothing about forming good teams or organising our teams. Or, you know, nothing about the opportunity and very little about the involvement of our stakeholders. Okay? So you could do that. You can also very simply, you know, do some strengths and weaknesses. What are we bad at? What are we good at? How important is it? Okay? And that, again, can help you to avoid problems, because if it's something you're responsible for and you're not very good at it, that's when the practice will be really useful, or some training. So there's lots of ways to apply the kernel. You can use it for building your way and understanding your way of working. You can use it just to bringing people together is very important. You can use it to do some analysis. You can also use it when your projects are in flight. You can say, where are you? Which phase are you in? Have you got there? Where's the difference? You can do all sorts of traffic lights and dashboard type stuff. Each of the states has a checklist that you can specialise to add whatever you need for your organisation. If you need Fred to sign it off before it gets released, you can put that in the checklist. It can be as explicit as you like.